Our live day one coverage of the NFL draft across the JAKIB Media Network, all presented by IBEW Local 98, rolls on with John McMullen. Day one, officially, round one of the NFL draft is in the books. They've left the building in Cleveland. We're still here. John McMullen now joining me. We're still here, Johnny Mac. How are you, my friend?
Doing well, hanging in there. Long day, but we knew it was coming. We're ready.
John, I want to get your reaction, and then I want to get into the press conference. We were on earlier tonight with draft takes with Derek Gunn, waiting to get words from Howie. We didn't get them when we went live, so I want you to bring us in to that press conference. But first, I want to start with your reaction. The pick is made. There's a lot of weird bedfellows in the equation as the Eagles secure a trade with the Dallas Cowboys to get their pick. And then, of course, when the pick was made, I hear Jody Mack chirping in your ear on Birds 365 about the selection of DeVonta Smith.
Well, Jody loves him. I said, what are we? So let's say we're 2021, Krause. So let's give DeVonta Smith 10 years in the NFL. So 2031, then he got 5 years. 2036, I want you to reserve us for Canton, Ohio in the gold jacket because Jody says this guy's going to the Hall of Fame. Look, everybody's thrilled. Everybody wants a skill position player. Even Howie Roseman, who might be the most hated man in this city, is popular tonight. I might be the most hated man in the city because Rashawn Slater's there. Justin Fields is there. I don't know if this is the right pick, but there's two different things. I've said this consistently. This is a very good player. I just don't think receiver has as much value as those other positions. And the one thing I think the Eagles have done well over the years is understand how to build a football team. And that's foundational stuff, offensive line, defensive line. When you have a player like Slater there, that to me is the foundation of the house. Then you can go out and buy the cool stuff, Krause, and you can fix up the office and everything else and the JAKIB Media Studio, but you need that foundation. To me, and if you think about it from this perspective, look, when you're playing wide receiver in this league, whether you're Jerry Rice or Randy Moss or Calvin Johnson or DeVonta Smith, you're at the mercy of a vehicle who has to get you the football. That's the quarterback, Jalen Hurts, and the offensive line who's got to block so Jalen Hurts can get you the football. There's only so much you can do. That said, very good player, tremendous player in college. My only concern for the player himself is the size, 166 pounds. I don't know if you can hold up long term in the NFL. They call him the Slim Reaper. We'll see. We'll see if he can be durable enough.
Johnny Mac, tell me about the start of the press conference, which was extremely delayed until Howie and the Zoom finally went to on, I guess. It took a while for that to occur. What was said? Was there an opening remark? Was there a feeling of energized accomplishment? What was it about?
Well, Nick's always going to be energetic. I mean, the guy is that's his personality. But I will say Howie Roseman seemed a little bit, they're more pep in his step. I mean, he knows this move is popular. And, as I said, Howie's been taking a lot of hits. Well, he didn't take any hits tonight. People are giving him credit for going up and getting a player that most of the fan base wanted. So we'll see how it shakes out. I think the most interesting part, Krause, is the trade with the Dallas Cowboys. And I asked Howie this in the press conference. If you think about this 5 years down the line and why it's so difficult to trade in your division, Well, if you're the Dallas Cowboys and DeVonta Smith goes in and beats you up twice a year, it's going to look that much worse because you traded down with the Philadelphia Eagles for the guy who's killing you. By that same rationale, the Cowboys get Micah Parsons from Penn State. If he turns into a superstar and he's knocking the Eagles around twice a year, nobody's going to be happy with Howie Roseman any longer. So it's an interesting dichotomy that you have the Cowboys and the Eagles making the trade.
Yeah, it was fascinating for me to watch some of the puzzle pieces kind of play out. And I referenced, I think it was to Derek Gunn when I talked with D Gunn on Draft Takes tonight, when the Broncos selected Surtain, and before the Broncos, Matt Rule grabs Horn.
Yeah.
And as it's starting to play out, Johnny Mac, I'm saying to Xander and I'm saying to myself, boy, there's no way that Dallas, that's it. The Eagles are done. The Eagles are picking at 12 now. There's no way they're getting DeVonta because Dallas isn't going to take them, but the Giants are. And that's what I thought. And then everything changed.
Yeah. And that's what Howie thought. And by the way, he's probably right because the Giants went down and ended up drafting Kadarius Toney, who's a receiver, obviously not as good as DeVonta Smith, but same type of presence to the offense. So that's obviously what they were looking for. And he was able to go up and do it and get ahead of the New York Giants. The concern is obviously, as I said, all three teams are NFC East teams. So you're kind of playing with fire and you're giving the Dallas Cowboys not only Micah Parsons, who they probably would have taken. Remember, if they were forced to stay put, that's who the Cowboys would have taken at 10. So they're getting the player they wanted and they're getting that extra third round pick. So it's risky from that perspective.
In the press conference tonight, John, did Howie talk about what's next now? They give up that one pick in the third round. Directionally now, where are they going? What are they looking at?
Well, you have to believe, I always thought whether they take with their first pick, if they would have taken a corner, if it would have been a J.C. Horn or a Patrick Surtain, I thought they would be going wide receiver at 37 in the second round. Now that they've taken a wide receiver, I think they have to go cornerback at 37. The good part of that is it's a pretty deep draft at corner. So I do think they'll have some good players there. And remember, there's still some maneuvering. We all think Zach Ertz isn't going to be here by the end of the weekend. They could attach him to a pick, perhaps come up wherever, maybe in the third round, what have you, maybe in the second round. Maybe they go up a few spots at the beginning of the second round. They have the fifth pick, but, maybe they go up to 33. So they have the ability to do that if they have a player that they've targeted. But they certainly need the one position. They have needs all over the place. But they have stopgaps. At linebacker, they have Eric Wilson. At safety, they have Anthony Harris. They have stopgaps. They don't have a stopgap at corner. It's Darius Slay. If they had to play a football game today, Krause, it would be Mike Jacquet. They don't want to play a football game today and put Mike Jacquet out there. So they have to find a corner, and they have to find a corner likely early tomorrow.
I asked Derek Gunn this question on Draft Takes. I asked Philly's biggest fan, John Doherty, on fan reactions tonight. I asked him the same question. I talked with Harry Mays to get his reaction. Do we, or is this football team right now, John, the worst team in the NFC East? Or Were they the worst coming in, and now they're better than worst?
That's a good question. They were the worst team coming off last season. We use Bill Parcells rules. You are what your record says you are. But I think the context to that is all the offensive line problems. One of the great things that Nick Sirianni has going for him is the lack of expectations. Nobody expects this team to be very good. Well, I got news for you. If Lane Johnson is out there for 16 games, if Brandon Brooks is out there for 16 games, they're going to be better than people think because that offensive line, just what I talked about with Slater, is so important. They're going to be a lot better. Now, that's a big if. Those are big ifs. These are aging players who have had significant injury histories. And generally, with football players, Grousey, as you get older, you don't get healthier. So those are big ifs. But if those guys are out there, this football team's going to be better than people think it's going to be, and they're going to be in the mix in the NFC East, which is still a bad division. That's the good news. The bad news is, yeah, the Giants are improving. Washington's improving. Dallas is getting their quarterback back. It's a very even division. And things like injuries can shift you from first place to last place really quickly.
Is Jalen Hurts, who has not been named the starter by his head coach, is he elated tonight that he now has at least a weapon on offense? I mean, he has more than that, but yeah. he needed weapons coming in. If he had any,
I'm sure he's elated. I'm sure. I mean, he played with DeVonta Smith at Alabama before he transferred to Oklahoma. He knows how talented DeVonta Smith is. I'm sure he's very excited. The two like each other. They're friends. So that part of it enters into the equation as well. It was interesting, Krause, in the top 10 of the draft, you had Jamar Chase reuniting with Joe Burrow, Jalen Waddle reuniting with Tua, and now DeVonta Smith reuniting with Jalen Hurts. It was like a theme of the night to get these guys back together. So, yeah, just from a quarterback's perspective. But I said about Cincinnati because people are going to get emotional in Philadelphia about the Eagles. I said the same thing with Cincinnati. Look, you want to make Joe Burrow happy, draft him Jamar Chase. You want to keep him safe, which will make him happier 10 years down the road, draft him Penei Sewell. The Bengals are not known for making good decisions. I don't think they made a good decision. Same thing. Good players. Jamar Chase is a great player. Left tackle's more important.
I don't know if it was earlier today on the middle, which at one point during the show, you were on the show along with Harry Mays, Eitan Shander, Barrett Brooks, of course, and Ray Didinger. So it was a 5-pack of information, and DeVonta Smith and his name was obviously part of that conversation. It was part of Ray Didinger's assessment as a possibility. And then later tonight in draft coverage, I heard Barrett Brooks and Ray again talking about DeVonta Smith and his ability to catch the football. Almost, Johnny Mac, as if that is his best asset. It's one thing to be fast. It's another to be able to get open. But if you can't catch the football, the other two aren't as relative. You can catch the football, all of a sudden you can score touchdowns, and that's what I think the fan base is thinking.
Yeah, and Nick Sirianni said the same thing. The most important part of being a receiver in this league is catching the football. I'm not saying that's not true. You got to be able to catch the football consistently. but Greg Ward can catch the football consistently. He's not a great player. I think the biggest thing is to be a great route runner. I think you see great route runners. You know, Stephon Diggs in Buffalo. You talk to every young receiver in this league, they mention Stephon Diggs. Just phenomenal footwork, route runner. Marvin Harrison, who a lot of people have compared DeVonta Smith to, is an actual Hall of Famer, maybe the greatest route runner of all time, Philadelphia native. Um, Adam Thielen, tremendous, tremendous route runner. Those guys are the best receivers. Now they all catch the football. They all have great hands, but you can have great hands and not be a great receiver. You have to run great routes to get separation in this league. DeVonta Smith is a great route runner, so he's ahead of the curve. That's a huge positive.
NFL insider John McMullen joining us here across the JAKIB Media Network, of course, co-host of the very successful Birds 365. You'll be right back at it tomorrow morning with Jody Mack, and then into the night tomorrow night with more NFL draft coverage here on the JAKIB Media channel, all presented by the IBEW Local 98. John, I want to ask you about, and this goes to your point, you don't have to think too far back. Just think about the Super Bowl, where the best quarterback in the National Football League, not the legendary Tom Brady, but Patrick Mahomes, couldn't make any plays because he didn't get any time, and he couldn't get the football to Tyreek, and no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't will his team with his talent to beat the Patriots and get that Super Bowl under siege. And that is an element that I think Jalen will have the ability to be protected if the line stays healthy. But I don't know how the defense will do against opposing offenses. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, well, I think you're right. Andy Reid knows he'd have back-to-back Super Bowl champions if Eric Fisher doesn't get hurt, his left tackle, Mitchell Schwartz, his right tackle. So what does he do? He goes out and he trades for Orlando Brown. He signs Joe Thuney, two of the best offensive linemen on the market. Nobody knows better than Andy Reid. He knows why his team lost. And you bring up a great point. Patrick Mahomes, the best quarterback in the NFL, looked really, really pedestrian. And that's why I say what I say. It's not sexy. The sexy pick is what the Eagles did. And that's why everyone's happy. And I get it. And it's a really good player. But when you're passing up an offensive lineman like Sean Slater, it goes against the Eagles' philosophy. And that concerns me. Because when you go against your philosophy, which is a good one, which is a proven philosophy, why are you doing it? Are you doing it because DeVonta Smith is such a talent? It overwhelms it. That would be good. So that would be the best case scenario. Or are you doing it because you don't want to hear the criticism, because you want the applause, because you want the fan base satiated? That would be the worst case scenario.
Well,
we're going to see how it shakes out.
Well, you would say that Howie Roseman is the architect of that philosophy, right? So what changed?
I think Andy is. It goes back to Andy Reid.
Goes back to Andy Reid. Yeah. What changed tonight? How influential was Nick Sirianni in the decision? Influential at all? Not really.
I don't think so. I mean, you have to look at the history of this team since Chip Kelly, Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman, and first it was Joe Douglas, and now it's Andy Weidel. They have been the keys in the draft. They have had the keys to the car in the draft. I don't think that's changed with a rookie head coach. So they're making the decisions, and they're compiling the team and then giving it to Nick Sirianni to coach. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. That's the traditional GM coach relationship. That's where we are. Now, a good GM wants to get players his coach wants, but that's a fine line. And hopefully, this is my hope. They just thought, DeVonta Smith is a better player than Rashawn Slater. And maybe he is. But boy, the value of the position is skewed. That's my concern.
Johnny Mac, you rewind back and we're getting late into we're past being late into the night. We're now early in the morning on Friday. And you go back to how this draft started. Before it started, Aaron Rodgers is not going to return to the Green Bay Packers. You and I had a conversation offline earlier today about that, about that scenario. And then, and then once you got past those first couple of picks, boom, Trey Lance goes to San Francisco, the North Dakota State product. And then that starts. And then there were some more obvious ones. Kyle Pitts, of course, was speculated to go, and that's exactly where he went to Atlanta. So I guess I'm rambling, but I'm trying to understand if you thought it played out the way it did. Is that what you expected? You may not have anticipated a trade with the Cowboys, but do you feel, or does Howie feel, that they ultimately ended up with a pick who was high on their draft board?
Yeah, I mean, there's no question they were very high on DeVonta Smith. I think it was a bit of a surprise that Carolina went with J.C. Horn. And I think it was a bit of a surprise to the Eagles that both corners were gone at 8 and 9. It really didn't matter to them who San Francisco picked. They knew they were going to take a quarterback. Howie did admit he thought more quarterbacks were going to go before number 12. So he thought all 5 were going to be gone. So that hurt the Eagles a little bit. But the only thing that didn't go the way they thought was probably the corners going a little bit earlier than expected. I think they expected Surtain to go number 10 to the Cowboys, and worst case, Horn would drop to them. I think those were the 3 players they were considering, the 2 corners and DeVonta Smith.
John, let me add.
The 2 corners they weren't able to get. So.
John, let me ask you, DeVonta Smith, was he made available to the media tonight?
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that. Tell me a little bit about opening remarks from DeVonta Smith.
Hey, DeVonta was in Cleveland. So he was one of the 12 players in Cleveland live for the draft. So he did a Zoom session with us from Cleveland. Look, he's thrilled. I mean, he's thrilled to be a top 10 pick in the NFL draft. He's thrilled to reunite with Jalen Hurts. It's like any kid is excited. I mean, in that type of atmosphere, you really can't get that much out of him. But he didn't think the Eagles paid a ton of attention to him in the pre-draft process, which I think was interesting. That could mean a lot. It could mean nothing. The Eagles could have been playing coy because they liked him so much. But Howie mentioned when he had a Zoom with him at the Senior Bowl, I believe, he said, can we put you in Andy's suitcase and can we take you back home? So from the Eagles' perspective, they had a lot of interest. I'm not sure DeVonta picked up on it.
John McMullen working hard on day one. We're now into day two of the NFL draft. John McMullen, Jody Mack, right back at it tomorrow morning with Birds 365, and then across the JAKIB Media channel and the JAKIB Media Network, another 15 plus hours tomorrow, Johnny Mack, and then 15 more hours on Saturday. Full recap coming up on Sunday. A lot of great information coming across the JAKIB Media Network. Well done by you, John McMullen. Nice job. Great work. Get some rest. The alarm will be going off in about 4 or 5 hours.
Soon. I still got it right, Krause. I'm going to be up for a while. I might go right into Birds 365. Who knows?
I love it. Good stuff from John McMullen. And that is finishing up our night of live coverage tonight on the JAKIB Media Network. We'll see you tomorrow with Birds 365. Thanks, Johnny Mack.
Thanks, Krause.